For over 45 years, Smokey and the Bandit, 1977, has remained one of the most beloved road movies in Hollywood history. With its thrilling car chases, high-energy comedy, and undeniable chemistry between Burt Reynolds and Sally Field, it became a box office sensation, turning both stars into household names. But while the film painted a picture of fast cars and carefree fun, what was happening behind the scenes was anything but easy. For decades, Sally Field has remained tight-lipped about her experience making the film and her tumultuous relationship with Burt Reynolds. Now, after more than 4 decades, she is finally breaking her silence. What really happened on the set of Smokey and the Bandit? Why did Sally Field almost turn down the role? And most shocking of all, why did she refuse to speak to Burt Reynolds for the last 30 years of his life, despite him later admitting that she was the love of his life? At the time of filming, Burt Reynolds was Hollywood's biggest star, while Sally Field was struggling to reinvent herself after years of being typecast as a sweet, innocent TV actress. She had just proven herself with her Emmy-winning role in Sybil, 1976, but Hollywood still saw her as the Flying Nun. When she was approached to play Carrie, like a frog, in Smokey and the Bandit, Field initially wanted nothing to do with the film. The script was weak, and the role was underdeveloped. Even Reynolds admitted that it wasn't great, but he personally called Field, convincing her that they could improvise and make the film work. What she didn't know at the time was that accepting the role would lead her into one of the most passionate and complicated relationships of her life. For the next 4 years, she and Reynolds would be inseparable, but their relationship would be marked by control, addiction, and heartbreak. Reynolds was a dominant, larger-than-life personality, while Field, 11 years younger, was still figuring out who she was. The two fell into an intense, whirlwind romance, and their on-screen chemistry translated into real life. Fans adored them together, believing they were the perfect Hollywood couple, but the reality was far darker. Reynolds was secretly battling a prescription drug addiction, taking Percocet and Valium and even mysterious injections in his chest. Field, deeply concerned, tried to help him get treatment, but he brushed her off, dismissing her efforts as poppycock. Their romance was passionate, but it was also controlling. Reynolds dictated her career choices, influencing what roles she took and constantly making her doubt herself. As her career took off, winning her first Academy Award for Norma Ray in 1979, Reynolds became jealous and insecure. By 1980, Field had had enough. She walked away, and Reynolds never got over it. For 3 decades, the two never spoke again. While Reynolds publicly admitted that Field was the love of his life, she refused to reach out, saying that their relationship had been too toxic. Even in his final years, as his health declined, Field kept her distance. When Reynolds passed away in 2018, fans wondered, why didn't Sally Field say goodbye? Now she's finally revealing the truth. This is the real story behind Smokey and the Bandit, a Hollywood romance filled with love, regret, and shocking revelations. Sally Field's rise to stardom, from sitcom sweetheart to award-winning actress. Before Smokey and the Bandit made her a Hollywood star, Sally Field had spent years trying to break free from her TV sitcom past. Born on November 6, 1946, in Pasadena, California, Field grew up in a household divided between Hollywood glamour and military discipline. Her mother, Margaret Field, was an actress, while her father, Richard Dryden Field, was an Army officer. Her parents' divorce when she was 4 years old deeply affected her, but things only got worse when her mother remarried stuntman Jock Mahoney. Years later, in her 2018 memoir, In Pieces, Field revealed that Mahoney had sexually abused her throughout her teenage years, a painful secret she kept hidden for decades. Despite the trauma, Field found solace in acting. She gained early fame starring in Gidget, 1965, and The Flying Nun, 1967. But her squeaky clean TV image trapped her in roles that felt childish. Determined to be taken seriously, she quit sitcoms entirely and enrolled in the Actors Studio in Los Angeles, studying under the legendary Lee Strasberg. Her big breakthrough came in 1976 when she played Sybil, a woman with dissociative identity disorder, in the groundbreaking TV miniseries of the same name. Field's jaw-dropping performance earned her an Emmy Award and changed her career forever. Then came Smokey and the Bandit, the film that would catapult her into movie stardom. The movie that almost didn't happen. By 1977, Burt Reynolds was Hollywood's biggest box office star, known for his rugged charm and rebellious attitude. But when Universal Studios greenlit Smokey and the Bandit, there was one major problem: the script was terrible. Field later admitted, "When I first read the script, I thought it was just awful. It made no sense at all." Even Reynolds himself knew the script was bad, but he had a plan. They would improvise. Reynolds personally called Sally Field and begged her to take the role. Surprisingly, it wasn't her recent Emmy-winning performance in Seinfeld that convinced him. He had seen her in an old sitcom called Gidget. Field was shocked that Gidget was the reason Reynolds wanted her, but despite her doubts, she took the role. It turned out to be the best decision of her career. Smokey and the Bandit became an instant hit, earning $126 million at the box office, second only to Star Wars that year. But behind the laughter and high-speed car chases, things between Field and Reynolds were becoming complicated. Burt Reynolds and Sally Field. Love, drugs, and heartbreak. From the moment they met, Field and Reynolds had undeniable chemistry. On screen, their banter felt natural, fun, and effortless. Off-screen, their relationship was intense and complicated. Field later described their connection as love at first sight, but also one filled with toxicity and control. Reynolds, 11 years older than Field, was struggling with a secret addiction. He was abusing prescription drugs, including Percodan, Valium, and even getting mysterious injections in his chest. Field, concerned for him, secretly arranged for Reynolds to get a health checkup at the Miami Heart Institute. When the results came back positive, she begged him to seek treatment. Reynolds brushed her off, calling her worries poppycock. Despite the warning signs, Field stayed with him for 4 years. Their relationship was filled with passion, but also control. Reynolds often dictated her career choices, discouraging her from taking on certain roles and making her doubt herself. By 1980, Field had finally had enough. She walked away. Reynolds never got over it. Why Sally Field refused to speak to Reynolds for 30 years. Even after they broke up, Burt Reynolds never stopped loving Sally Field. In a 2015 interview, he tearfully admitted, "Sally was the love of my life. I regret every second of how I handled things." But by then, Field hadn't spoken to him in 30 years. Why? According to Field, Reynolds was too toxic for her to stay connected with. He was controlling. He made me feel like I was always walking on eggshells. I loved him, but I had to protect myself. Even as Reynolds grew sick in his final years, she refused to reach out. When he passed away on September 6, 2018, at the age of 82, Field expressed sadness, but no regrets. The legacy of Smokey and the Bandit. Despite the real-life heartbreak, Smokey and the Bandit remains a Hollywood classic. It turned Burt Reynolds into an even bigger star and helped Sally Field transition from TV actress to A-list movie star. The film's success led to 2 sequels, though Field chose not to return for Smokey and the Bandit 2. But while millions remember the fun and adventure, the real story was one of love, regret, and Hollywood's darker side. Sally Field went on to win 2 Academy Awards, starring classic films like Norma Rae, Steel Magnolias, and Forrest Gump, and become a respected activist. Burt Reynolds, though forever remembered as the ultimate Hollywood rebel, admitted that losing Sally was his biggest regret. But the question remains, was their love doomed from the start, or did Reynolds' demons get in the way? Let us know what you think in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Hollywood's biggest secrets, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more behind-the-scenes stories.